Tired of spending $60, $80, $100 every April on plants dead before Halloween? That cycle was designed. The business model of your local garden center depends on you coming back. Every flat of annuals sold is a guaranteed return customer. And every perennial that fails over winter is a subscription you never agreed to sign. The plants marketed most aggressively almost never carry the documented performance records of the ones that spread, multiply, and fill your garden for decades without replacement. I have spent years reviewing university horticultural extension data, RHS Award of Garden Merit Trial records, and USDA plant performance documentation to find the 15 perennials that actually deliver what most gardeners are trying to buy. Stay through plant number 10. I will show you the specific cultivar that blooms for 6 uninterrupted months, and the garden center has no good explanation for why it is not on every shelf they own. Plant 1. Nepeta X Fasanii Walker's Low, the catmint that blooms 5 months straight. Most gardeners watch it finish its June bloom, assume it is done, and move on. They just lost 4 more bloom cycles. The correct move: the moment first bloom fades, cut the entire plant back by half. Confidently. It looks severe. It is exactly right. Within 2 to 3 weeks, a completely fresh flush of lavender blue spikes appears. Cut it again lightly and you often get a third cycle into October. 5 months of bloom from one plant, documented in RHS Award of Garden Merit Trials, and the 2007 Perennial Plant of the Year evaluation. The nursery never puts the cutback instruction on the tag because that instruction makes the plant permanent and eliminates any reason to return. Hardy to minus 30 Fahrenheit. Zones 3 through 9. In zones 7 through 9, the post-bloom rebound is frequently larger than the first flush because roots are fully established by midsummer. Bottom line, cut Walker's Low back after every flush, and you have 5 months of bloom from a plant that spreads wider every year and never needs replacing. Walker's Low covers the horizontal plane from May through October. The next plant adds vertical structure. Upright spikes rising 2 feet above the floor and running from July through hard frost. Plant 2. Rudbeckia fulgida variety Sullivanti Gold Sturm, the black-eyed Susan that spreads 2 ways simultaneously. Generic Rudbeckia from a big box flat gives you modest flowers and unreliable spread. Gold Sturm, Perennial Plant of the Year, 1999, RHS Award of Garden Merit. Spreads both by rhizomes pushing outward and by seed germinating in the gaps rhizomes have not yet reached. Mississippi State University trial garden records document nearly 100% flower coverage on established clumps. 3 starter plants fill an 8-foot border completely in 3 seasons. Zones 3 through 9. Hardy to minus 30 Fahrenheit. Leave seed heads standing through winter, and goldfinches feed from October through February. Bottom line, Gold Sturm means documented 2 mechanisms spread and bloom from July through first frost. The generic flat cannot deliver that. Plant 3, Phlox subulata Emerald Blue, the spring ground cover that cascades and eliminates weeding in its footprint. Planted flat in a flat bed, creeping phlox is modest. Give Emerald Blue a retaining wall, a raised bed edge, or a gentle slope, and it cascades while spreading. Flowers so dense in spring you cannot see the foliage beneath. Spreads by stolons that root at every soil contact point, reaching 12 to 18 inches wide at maturity. 1 purchase, 2 to 3 seasons. Permanent spring coverage on any edge you place it. Zones 3 through 9. Hardy to minus 35 Fahrenheit. Bottom line, give Emerald Blue a drop or a slope, and it produces a permanent spring flower scape that requires 0 replanting and eliminates weeding in its footprint. Plant 4. Echinacea purpurea magnus. The coneflower that gives you free new plants every autumn. Modern hybrid coneflowers in orange and double-petaled forms are mostly sterile. No self-seeding, no bird value. Magnus, the 1998 Perennial Plant of the Year and Top 15 in Mount Cuba Center's comprehensive independent echinacea trial for insect attraction, freely self-seeds when seed heads are left standing. Missouri Botanical Garden documents this explicitly. Year 1, 3 plants bloom June through September. Year 2, volunteer seedlings appear. Year 3, those seedlings bloom. Your 3 plants are now 7, covering 3 times the footprint for free. Hardy to minus 35 Fahrenheit, zones 3 through 9. The plant tag will never tell you to leave the seed head standing. That single instruction is the difference between a static planting and a self-perpetuating colony. Bottom line, buy Magnus by name, leave every seed head standing in autumn, and your original investment multiplies itself for free every season. 4 plants in and the pattern is clear. None are obscure. Every one is documented in public horticultural records. None are promoted the way annuals requiring yearly replacement are promoted, because the business logic runs the wrong direction. If your garden has never quite delivered what those nursery tags promised, that is not incompetence. That is the predictable result of a commercial system built around replacement. And if this research is landing differently than what you have heard before, subscribe right now, because plant number 10 blooms 6 months straight, and I am about to give you the exact cultivar name. Plant 5, Hemerocallis Stella d'Oro, the daylily that reblooms from May through October. The orange roadside daylily, Hemerocallis fulva, is a documented concern species in multiple states. 2 weeks of bloom in June, then runners extending 4 feet in every direction. That is the wrong plant. Stella d'Oro, winner of the American Hemerocallis Society's Stout Silver Medal, blooms from May through October in a compact 12 to 15 inch clump, fragrant, spreading 18 to 24 inches. Hardy zones 2 through 9. Broadest cold hardiness on this list. Every division gives you 3 to 5 new blooming size plants immediately. Bottom line, Stella d'Oro is 5 to 6 months of fragrant reblooming, zones 2 through 9, and every division produces more permanent plants. Plant 6, Monarda didyma Jacob Klein, the bee balm that solved powdery mildew and brings hummingbirds all summer. Generic bee balm earned its bad reputation. Mildew destroyed plantings by August every summer in humid climates. Jacob Klein, a natural selection from a Georgia garden documented by Henderson County Master Gardeners, Texas Extension, as one of the most mildew-resistant red monardas in the American market, changed that record entirely. Spreads by rhizomes into 2 to 3 foot wide colonies in 3 seasons. Blooms midsummer to early fall. Hardy to minus 30 Fahrenheit. Zones 3 through 9. Nurseries substitute generic red bee balm because it is cheaper to produce. The tag says Monarda. The word that matters is Jacob Klein. Bottom line, Jacob Klein transforms bee balm from a disease-prone disappointment into a hummingbird-attracting permanent colony. The cultivar name is the entire difference. Plant 7, Achillea coronation gold, the yarrow that performs best in poor soil and blooms 3 months where everything else fails. In rich amended beds, coronation gold flops and gardeners pull it out, concluding yarrow does not work. It does not work in rich soil because it was not built for it. Put it in lean, well-drained, unamended ground, rocky slopes, top of retaining walls, road edges, and it produces stiff, upright stems with mustard yellow flower plates 4 inches across from May through August. Named for Queen Elizabeth's coronation in 1953. RHS, Award of Garden Merit. 70 years of documented performance in difficult conditions. Missouri Botanical Garden confirms the inverse relationship: richer soil, poorer performance. Zones 3 through 8. Bottom line, give Coronation Gold your worst soil, no fertilizer, full sun. 3 months of cut-worthy golden bloom while everything else around it struggles. I want to speak directly to anyone who has followed the tag instructions, amended the soil, done everything the display suggested, and still ended up with a garden that underperforms. I have reviewed hundreds of grower reports and extension trial findings that document this gap exactly. The plants with the highest reorder rates are not the ones with the highest performance records. That is not an accident. Feral Garden exists to close that distance. And if this is landing differently than what you have heard before, subscribe now, because the next 8 plants cover shade, drought, containers, cold zones, and every seasonal gap still to come. Plant 8, Salvia nemorosa caridana, the ornamental salvia that is permanent, while the annuals beside it on the shelf die in November. Caridana produces deep violet-purple spikes on nearly black stems, 18 to 24 inches tall. Blooms May through June. Cut back to the basal rosette after first bloom, and it reblooms August through September, documented in RHS performance trials. Hardy zones 3 through 8. Spreads by clump expansion to 12 to 18 inches wide in 3 seasons. The annual red salvia splendens sold beside it look similar. It is not the same plant. The words that identify which one you are holding: Salvia nemorosa caridana. Bottom line, caridana gives you 2 bloom cycles per season in zones 3 through 8 and stands next to annual substitutes on the shelf without a word of explanation about the difference. Plant 9. Phlox paniculata. David. The garden phlox that solved powdery mildew permanently with fragrance that carries 30 feet. Every older Phlox paniculata variety develops mildew in humid summer conditions. David, Perennial Plant of the Year 2002, was confirmed by multiple university extension programs across high humidity climates as the most consistently mildew-free white garden phlox available. Pure white domed flower clusters 3 to 4 inches across on 3 to 4 foot stems in mid to late summer. Fragrance carries 30 feet on a still evening. Zones 4 through 8. Generic phlox from an unlabeled flat will mildew. David will not. One word on the tag is the entire difference. Bottom line, David converts garden phlox from a seasonal embarrassment into the most fragrant permanent perennial in your garden. And the cultivar name is all that separates them. Plant 10. Geranium Roseanne. The hardy geranium voted most popular garden plant of the past 100 years in the 2013 RHS Centenary Poll, blooming May through October without stopping. The annual pelargoniums labeled as geraniums in every garden center turn to mush at frost and need replacing every April. Roseanne, zones 4 through 9, blooms 5 to 6 months because it is a natural hybrid whose 2 parent species have complementary bloom windows combining into continuous flowering. That is a genetic characteristic, not a management behavior. Nothing you do to any other geranium variety replicates it. Covers 3 square feet per plant in 3 seasons. RHS Award of Garden Merit. Bottom line, Roseanne is 5 to 6 months of bloom, zones 4 through 9, voted most popular garden plant of the last 100 years, and every pelargonium beside it needs replacing every April. Plant 11. Coreopsis verticillata moonbeam. The Coreopsis in continuous cultivation in university trial gardens since 1992 without replacement. The 1992 Perennial Plant of the Year. Annual Coreopsis from the same section dies in November. Moonbeam spreads by rhizomes 12 to 24 inches per plant, Blooms June through September with pale creamy yellow flowers on fine thread-like foliage requiring virtually no deadheading. Zones 3 through 9. In zones 8 and 9, it goes summer dormant and returns in fall. Gardeners in Texas who pull it in July are making a multi-year replanting mistake they do not need to make. Bottom line, Moonbeam is 30 plus years of documented continuous performance. The cultivar that converts annual replanting costs into a permanent garden fixture. Plant 12. Ajuga reptans chocolate chip. The ground cover that solves dry shade under mature trees. Chocolate chip spreads by stolons that root even in compacted, root-impacted, low-moisture soil, documented by university extension trials as among the most shade-tolerant spreading ground covers for difficult conditions available to American home gardeners. Bronze-purple carpet with blue springflower spikes visible in deep shade. 3 seasons, 30 to 40 square feet of permanent coverage under a mature canopy. The straight species Ajuga spreads too aggressively. Chocolate chip spreads controllably. Ask for the cultivar name, zones 3 through 9. Bottom line, chocolate chip permanently solves dry shade under mature trees, the condition that defeats most other ground covers within 2 seasons. Plant 13, Agastache Blue Fortune, the hyssop that blooms June through October in heat and drought that destroys most summer perennials. Blue Fortune, a sterile hybrid between Agastache funiculum and Agastache rugosa, cannot be grown from seed. Nurseries substitute cheaper seed-grown Agastache with shorter bloom windows. Chicago Botanic Garden. Perennial evaluations noted as exceptional, specifically in hot to dry urban conditions. Attracts bumblebees, honeybees, hummingbirds, and monarch butterflies simultaneously. Zones 5 through 9. The cultivar name Blue Fortune is your protection against substitution. Bottom line, Blue Fortune blooms 4 months in the drought and heat that finishes everything else on your summer list. And the cultivar name is the only guarantee of that performance. Plant 14. Hylotelephium, autumn. Joy. The sedum whose winter seed heads are as valuable as its flowers, and why cutting it back in autumn eliminates 4 months of its best performance. The blue mark, pale green buds in July, pink flowers in August and September, deepening through rose, copper rust, and mahogany as temperatures drop. Dried heads stand structurally intact through January, providing songbird habitat and winter architecture no other plant on this list replicates. Zones 3 through 9, drought tolerant. 1 plant divides into 3 in 3 seasons. Each division blooms in its first season back in ground. Bottom line, leave autumn joy standing through winter and you have 6 months of changing seasonal interest. Cut it back in October and you lose the most architecturally valuable phase. Plant 15. Geranium excammus cantabrigiense biocovo, the dry shade ground cover for the conditions Roseanne cannot cover. Roseanne needs sun. Biocovo thrives in dry shade, lean soil, under established trees. Its documented adaptation to calcareous, well-drained Mediterranean soils matches exactly the compacted, root-competitive, moisture-depleted conditions under large tree canopies. Low stems root wherever they contact the ground. Year 1. Coverage doubles. Year 3. The strip is permanently carpeted with deeply cut aromatic leaves turning reddish bronze in fall and small white spring flowers above. RHS, Award of Garden Merit, zones 5 through 8. 1 division gives 3 to 5 new spreading plants within a single season. Bottom line, Biocovo permanently solves dry shade under established trees. The specific cultivar built for exactly the problem that defeats most other options. 15 cultivar names: Walker's Low, Goldsturm, Emerald Blue, Magnus, Stella d'Oro, Jacob Klein, Coronation Gold, Caradonna, David, Roseanne, Moonbeam, Chocolate Chip, Blue Fortune, Autumn Joy, Biacovo, everyone documented in RHS trials, USDA plant records, Perennial Plant Association evaluations, and university extension data. The information was never hidden. It was simply not profitable to promote it. Those 15 names are the difference between a garden that costs you money every spring and one that fills itself. Order the exact cultivar names, not generic species from a nursery flat. That word on the tag is everything. Subscribe so this growing knowledge keeps reaching you before your next planting season. Like this video, hit the bell, and share it with someone still replacing the same plants every April. There is an entire world of forgotten plant knowledge beyond this list. Plants that solve different problems, buried by the commercial system for different reasons. The next video covers them. Watch it right here on screen. Tell me in the comments where you are gardening and which of these 15 you are planting first. Stop buying things designed to die. Start growing things that last.